Star Fox Adventures is sort of an enigma in the franchise. Prior to playing this game, I mainly knew it as the on-foot game of the series, though didn't really know anything outside of that since I wasn't a fan of the series yet. Still, it's one I was curious to finally jump into in this series, where I'm playing every Star Fox game in order of release. Things are actually going to be a bit different with this video, since this game is quite different from what came before, as well as what came after. Like usual, I'll be giving some background on the game, but afterwards, instead of going through the entire game, since it would take me a while to do so, I'm instead going to be touching on the various elements of the game, with it all culminating in my overall review at the end. Welcome to Rob's Quarters. I hope you enjoy this video.
Where are we going?
This is easily going to be the most interesting background yet for one of these games, and you'll quickly see why. Star Fox Adventures actually began as a game that was completely unrelated to Star Fox, with this game originally being called Dinosaur Planet. Development for this game began with Rare in 1997 after the release of Diddy Kong Racing, and originally was going to have Timber, the tiger from Diddy Kong Racing, as the main character, where he'd be a time traveler in a prehistoric world. Its gameplay and cinematics was going to be similar to that of Ocarina of Times. Further into development, Timber would be dropped in favor of Saber the Wolf and Crystal the Fox, and a swap stone that allowed you to switch between the two. Meanwhile, in Kyoto, at Nintendo's headquarters, Star Fox creator Takuya Imamura had requested he produce a sequel to the series, and Miyamoto agreed to this, but wanted to produce an action-adventure game instead of the typical rail shooter. With that, development began on this new game, called Star Fox Adventures, with programmer Kazuaki Morita and Imamura messing around with ideas, such as Fox being on foot shooting enemies. Back at Rare, they would feature Dinosaur Planet at E3 2000. Miyamoto caught wind of their demo and was impressed, going to Rare and suggesting they incorporate the Star Fox franchise into their game, helped by the fact that Saber looked similar to Fox McCloud. They agreed, and work began on merging Star Fox's elements into Dinosaur Planet, with the game being renamed to Star Fox Adventures Dinosaur Planet. Later on, the opportunity to boost awareness around the GameCube was seen with this game, so development would then be moved to that system, and the Dinosaur Planet surname would be dropped as well, with the final title being Star Fox Adventures. On September 23, 2002, the game was released in the US. You start this game off by playing as not Fox in his Arwing, but instead Crystal, whose home planet, Serenia, was destroyed, and both of her parents alongside it. After receiving a distress signal from Dinosaur Planet, she decides to investigate, flying on her pterodactyl, the species of which are called Cloud Runners in this game, and holding a staff, which you then immediately lose. You then come across this flying ship that looks very similar to one of Bowser's, and are immediately thrown into the game, where you control the Cloud Runner Crystal is riding on and have to shoot at the cannons as well as the propeller at the bottom. Once you've done this, the ship will turn around, and you'll have to shoot at its head. Afterwards, you'll hop onto the ship, where the main gameplay is introduced. If you've ever played Ocarina of Time, you know what to expect here. You walk around with the left stick, roll forward with X, jump by running off an edge, the game automatically makes you jump, and interact with things with the A button. In this case, you talk to this smaller Cloud Runner locked inside a cage, who tells you to explore below deck. When I did this, I found a key, and went back up to unlock the cage, though the main villain of this game, General Scales, stopped me before I could do so. He then dropped me off the edge, though the Cloud Runner I was riding on earlier saved me. Afterward, we headed towards the source of the distress signal, Krazoa Palace. This is where other aspects are introduced as well, such as the inventory system you can access with the C-stick, and your health system, represented with hearts. I wonder where I've seen that one before. Anyways, you have to carry this explosive barrel down to a lower level to destroy a wall in order to get into Krazoa Palace, with other mechanics being introduced here as well, such as these breakable crates that give you Puck eggs and Dumbledang pods, which you eat to heal yourself. Once inside, you talk to a Triceratops, called Earthwalkers in this game, who tells you that the palace was attacked by General Scales and his army, and that they hid the Krazoa spirits, peaceful spirits that bring life to their planet. You then are directed to one of the shrines that one of them is hidden in, where you'll have to dodge obstacles such as fire and defeat enemies such as these floating tentacle creatures, before you come across a spirit, where it has you take a test. It's basically the cup and ball game where you have to keep track of where the spirit is, so you can correctly choose where it's at. Once you complete this test, you'll get the spirit, and you have to transport it into the palace. Once you've done this, some mysterious being will slam you into the spirit's path, trapping you inside a crystal. Oh, yeah, get it? Because, like, her name's Crystal and she's, like, trapped inside a crystal now, so okay, let's move on. It's not until all of this that you finally get to see the Star Fox crew, where Falco is nowhere to be seen. That's not the only tragedy, though. Listen to those voices.
Okay, Fox, I'll be here if you need me.
Good job, Fox! We'll get a big bonus at this rate!
I don't mind Fox's voice for the most part. I still prefer his Star Fox 64 voice, but this one isn't that bad. But Slippy and Peppy's voices just aren't it. Peppy now looks and sounds like this old man, which he never was in either of the previous games. He was always meant to be the veteran of the team, and that did mean he was older than the rest of them, but not by this much. Slippy's voice is just sad. It lacks that same high-pitched energetic tone that the one from Star Fox 64 had. Anyways, Star Fox is contacted by General Pepper, who asks the team to investigate the invasion on Dinosaur Planet. The team agrees, and Fox arrives on Dinosaur Planet, unarmed so as to not cause trouble with the locals. Yeah, this doesn't really make sense, and you'll see why later. You spend the rest of the game playing as Fox McCloud, where the control scheme is the same as Crystal's, though this time you actually end up finding her staff, which plays a large role in this game. Over time, you can upgrade this staff to do a variety of things, such as shoot fire, blast ice, cause earthquakes, and more. Doing so uses up this meter, which you can refill with the gems that drop from these plants you can chop down with your staff. In fact, this is how you typically will fight enemies in this game. You press the A button to strike at things, and in combat, you can use the R button to shield against enemies. You can use the staff's abilities as well, but it's often a lot more convenient to just use its melee attack. Side note, I wish for the fire ability, they allowed you to aim like they did in Ocarina of Time. I didn't like having to hold the control stick in a specific position, and would have preferred having it stay where I positioned it. Anyways, your main goal in this game is to find the 4 spell stones to bring the pieces of the planet back together, because yes, parts of the planet became detached Sonic Unleashed style, as well as the remaining 5 Krazoa spirits to free Crystal. For both of these, you have to explore the different parts of Dinosaur Planet, solving puzzles and beating up enemies to reach them. You also meet an Earthwalker named Tricky, who is Prince of the Earthwalker tribe, and he can perform various tasks such as finding random objects buried in the ground, breathing fire, and staying in place, such as if you need to keep a button pressed down. Honestly though, I didn't find the gameplay to be all that compelling. As someone who's played through Ocarina of Time, I found the gameplay there to be a lot more fun and engaging, and in comparison, what you do here just feels like a clone of the Zelda series, though not nearly as fun as it. I don't think it's that bad or anything. The majority of the time it was fine enough, but there were multiple annoying parts of this game that may have made me drop the game if I wasn't playing it for this series. Stuff like these sections where you have to get the explosive barrel to a specific section of the map was especially irritating, and I can't imagine this was done for any other reason other than to pad out the runtime. The rail shooter gameplay that defined the series to begin with is also barely in this game. You pretty much only get to use it to travel between the main planet and the pieces of the planet detached from it, and even then, the gameplay is not as good as the previous 2 titles, the left and right tilt being removed for a barrel roll that you do anytime you press the L and R buttons. Again, it's not bad by any means, but it's just sad that this is what the rail shooter elements were reduced down to. Unfortunately, this is not where the complaints end. While the gameplay is the weakest part of the game, I also have problems with other aspects too. The different places you go in the game are fine enough overall, and there are actually cool places like Dragon Rock, which reminded me of Tatooine for some reason, and I thought the idea of this planet inhabited by dinosaurs and ancient creatures was also a neat enough idea, but the execution just feels kinda generic. I found characters like Tricky to be charming enough, but a lot of them, especially the enemies, left very little of an impact on me. They just kind of felt like a character that you would talk to in order to get to the next place you need to get to, and if any of these characters had names, I couldn't tell you what they were. The voice acting overall isn't too bad. My main issue really comes with how they handled Star Fox in this game. There is zero reason for this to be a Star Fox game, other than to sell more copies because it has the name Star Fox on it. I'm all for taking a series in a new direction with a different team. Metroid Prime proves that this can work, but this game doesn't really do anything for the Star Fox franchise other than bring in a completely unrelated world that feels like it has nothing to do with what came before. That wouldn't be that big of an issue if, again, most of these additions weren't mediocre and generic.
Dum-de-dum.
I'm just gonna touch on this one briefly, but the music is fine. Most of it doesn't stick out that much to me, but I did enjoy tracks like Thorntail Hollows. If I were to rank them though, I'd still say that this has the weakest music of the three Star Fox games I've played so far. Mainly because while it does fit the game, it's not that memorable. Like the characters, the story is pretty generic too. A bad guy takes over the planet, and you have to stop said bad guy by putting the planet back together. None of the individual beats of the story felt unique. Almost all of it felt like it was just doing the bare minimum in getting you through the game. If you're curious, here's a specific example of a moment that I feel like Ocarina of Time pulled off well to help move the game along that felt unique. In Kakariko Village, there's this guy that's angry about this kid who, 7 years ago, played the Song of Storms on his ocarina and messed up his windmill as a result. If you show your ocarina to the guy, he'll acknowledge it and teach you the Song of Storms that the kid played 7 years ago. If you've ever played through Ocarina of Time, you probably see where this is going. After you learn the song from this guy, you have to time travel back 7 years to drain the well with the Song of Storms, which will mess up the guy's windmill, making this a time paradox. It's a small thing, but it sticks out in my brain as a pretty unique moment, even if it's a rather small one in the grand scheme of things in the game. I feel like this game doesn't do anything like that. And while we're in this section, because yes, I didn't forget about this, why is Fox not allowed to use his gun when he gets a staff? You could argue he doesn't kill anything with it, but I would be inclined to disagree, considering he literally shoves it through the head of one of the bosses. Moving on, there is one surprise that I actually found interesting. Once you find all 4 spellstones and collect the 6 spirits in Free Crystal, you find out that the one behind the spirit scheme is none other than Andross, and you have to fly off of Dinosaur Planet in your R-Wing to fight him as the true final boss. Side note, this is definitely the weakest Andross fight across the 3 games I've played in the series so far. His attack patterns are very similar to what came prior for his fights, but there's weird quirks like the fact that instead of breaking to avoid being sucked in by his inhaling attack, you instead barrel roll. This is also where Falco comes in at the last second and helps you out by sending bombs your way to use against Andross. Once he's defeated, Dinosaur Planet is saved.
We did it!
I did not like this game. If I had to sum it up in one sentence, I'd say it's a generic Zelda clone with Star Fox characters sprinkled in, just to exist in the game. That much was clear after playing for just a couple hours, and I would not have bothered continuing through it had I not been playing it for this series. The gameplay is decent at best, but a lot of the time, it's annoying and frustrating. It makes me wish I was playing a better game like any of the Zelda games. The characters didn't leave a mark on me for the most part, with only Tricky being one that stuck out to me at all. Star Fox's addition in this is also pointless, and if you'd removed all elements of it from this game, you'd still have the same game, and it's because it never was meant to be a Star Fox game to begin with. I understand why the decision was made, but it really does seem like it did nothing but bring the game down. An on-foot action-adventure style game for Star Fox isn't a bad idea, but Star Fox Adventures is not a direction the series needed to take, and with how half-baked the execution was, I'm going to give Star Fox Adventures a 5.5 out of 10. Now with this game out of the way, I can finally move on to the other titles, which will hopefully be better than this one. So, if you want to see me play those games, make sure to subscribe. For now, I'm out of here.